Good evening to everyone. Today we will start the third chapter, that is the animal nutrition is concerned, and we can expect the about 20 questions in this particular chapter, and we will go as per the syllabus is concerned. So go through the syllabus as per the Karnataka Public Service Commission. That's so it is Unit 3, General Nutrition or the history of some nutrition, etc. Then the next chapter is the proximate principles. Then carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, their digestion and metabolism in ruminants, and also the non-ruminants. Then the next chapter is energy partition, measures of protein quality. So the next is the requirement of the water as nutrition content, minerals, vitamins, additives or feed additives, what we can say, feeds and fodders and their classification. The next chapter is anti-nutritional factors and unconventional feeds or non-conventional feed source as the things may be. Then the next chapter is, can go through the screen. Then common anti-nutritional factors, the convenient, then unconventional feeds, then hay and silage making is also another chapter, especially. Then the grinding, chaffing, pelleting, then roasting, then feed blocks, how to prepare all these feed blocks, etc., as per the nutritional standards. Then next is the feed formulation principles, how to prepare a feed for cattle, sheep, goat, pig, poultry, etc. Then apart from this one, there is another chapter called as the feeding standards. Then also nutritional requirements of different categories of livestock and computation of the rations. For us, whenever a feed ingredient is given, calculation of different parts of that particular in terms of the proteins, carbohydrates, etc., then compounding the feed. Then the nutritional deficiencies and its influence on livestock performance and also the health is another chapter. Apart from this one, the feed supplements and feed additives is another chapter. Then the conservation and preservation of the uh, feed, especially the maybe the cattle feed, conservation and preservation of feed. Then the economic utilization of agro byproducts for feeding livestock, then the unconventional feeds. So this is another chapter, and the wildlife nutrition also need to be covered under this particular chapter is concerned. Then, so these are all the things which we need to cover in this particular chapter is concerned. So now we will call upon the first chapter in this thing, introduction and history of animal nutrition. That's the first chapter, introduction, what's a nutrition, etc. Then also the history part of the animal nutrition. This is unit 3. So please face the examination with lot of confidence, and everyday study become makes you the perfect. Please spend a time from 7 to 8 p.m. every day. Then go through the question papers which are distributed through the Google form and answer, and always remember them, and especially the multiple choice questions. Why, why you need to attend the different topics is, so even though I prepare some of the question papers, I may miss something. So that's why you need to go through this every lecture. It's an important thing, and you need to understand the subject properly and answer accordingly. And apart from this one, as a veterinarian also, there is we can gain the knowledge by uh, reading different books, etc. Even though it's for Karnataka Public Service Commission, but also for the general knowledge purpose, also you can read different books, etc. So this is one of the good opportunity to learn. Hence, I am thankful to Dr. Manju GU, especially for helping me to prepare these slides, and especially he has paid the important matters and also some of the PowerPoints with me, and I am thankful to this occasion. And the thing is, the animal nutrition, of course, it is also divided into the different units, as you know, especially undergraduate. So that's one, the applied ruminant nutrition one, two, three, and the non-ruminant nutrition. These are the two components, especially in case of the animal nutrition. Number one is the ruminant nutrition is more focused, and also the uh, non-ruminant nutrition is also focused next thing. So what's an animal nutrition? So the definition wise, the science of nutrition deals with many physiological processes and biochemical reactions wherein food is converted into body tissues and various activities of the living organism. So this is the very broad definition of an animal nutrition. So here it's a science, means everything is a science. Animal nutrition is also a science. So this deals with the physiological processes and also certain biochemical reactions wherein which the food, the definition of food varies a lot. So this food which is available exogenously is converted into the body and taken inside the body, and various activities of the living organisms are being done. So this is the broad nutrition. Of course, the feed, whatever the animal is consuming, is also converted to the milk and also the meat. That's the two important activities of animal husbandry are concerned. So this involves in broad the number one, the feed intake, digestion, then absorption, then metabolism, and also elimination. So just like the pharmacology, what the pharmacokinetic we can compare here is the feed intake or absorption, digestion, then metabolism of that particular feed, then elimination through feces. In addition, it also deals with the study of composition of the different feeds. So many type of the feeds are available: cattle feed, poultry feed, goat feed, pig feed, and whatever it may be. So how to prepare the different types of the feed and effective utilization of the feed and fodder for animal feeding. Then the safe food and non-food production. How to produce a safe food without any residues or without any toxic material. Also, another challenge in front of the nutritionist is concerned. So, these are all the basic things, especially. So, nutrition is a substance, it is a science that is studying the biochemical and physiological reaction which converts food into body tissues. For example, animal body tissues like the muscles and also the milk and various activities of that particular animal. So this is the thing. Whereas the animal nutrition of this main objective of animal nutrition course or this syllabus is to supply all essential nutrients to all the classes of the livestock in optimum proportions so that animal productivity can very well be optimized. Means the livestock or the components of the human life may include from the domestic animals like cattle, sheep, goat, pig, poultry. And other than this thing, we also have the pet animals like dog, cat, etc. Then the game animals like the horse, donkeys, mules, and apart from this one we have also got the wild animals. So to study what is the requirement of the feed For number one is the maintenance of that particular animals. So how much optimum quality and quantity of the feed need to be feed for the maintenance means if an animal need to be live, it need to have the maintenance ratio. Then apart from this one, there is another thing called as the growth. Growth means any animal starting from its birth to death, there is some growth to some period and it stops, and later it starts production, especially the milk, meat, egg, wool, pork and chicken and so many other things are produced. So the another objective of the animal husbandry, as you all know, being the veterinarians, it is also the work purpose, especially the bullocks and also the camels, which pull the cart and also used for the plowing the ground. And apart from this one, they also work in the hill stations to carry the human beings on their back and also in the battlefield. We know that the horses were very well utilized in this particular field is concerned. Hence, all this will be maintained by the nutrition what we supply to the animal or the food what we supply to the animal is concerned. So one need to be very well aware of the different type of the feed, its ingredient, its nutritious value, how much it is required, what quantity is required, what is the price, and what are all the proximate principles present in this thing, which are digestible things, which are non-digestible by the animals, etc. We need to know, especially in this course as main objectives. Then the another thing is, so the nutrients, there are six chief nutrient materials are there. The number one is the water. Water is very essential nutrients, especially so water, then carbohydrate, then mineral. Apart from this one, the vitamins, then fat and proteins. So these are the six chief nutrients. So the proteins are required for the animals for the production of egg, meat, etc. So the proteins are so for a monogastric animals, the proteins are from the egg of a bird or meat of an animal or oil seed cakes or legumes. So are the important source of the proteins apart from pulses and the milk, meat, etc. Like this we can now. Uh, so the pulses are also another important things and leguminous, whereas the fat is from oil seeds. Different type of the fats are there from the oil seeds. So oil containing seeds are also important materials. So the vitamins are also from different sources, exogenous or endogenous. For example, sometimes the vitamins, different B complex vitamins, are synthesized in the ruminants in the ruminal microflora digestion. Then minerals need to be exogenously administered to any animal. Whereas the carbohydrates are also lot of sources are there. Number one is the cereals, then different types of the grains, then fodders, the green fodder or dry fodder, and also the silage. So these are all the carbohydrate rich sources. Whereas the all other things has to come from the different sources to the animals. So waters, then carbohydrates, the minerals, the vitamins, fat, and proteins. So these are all the key nutrients which are required for the animal starting from birth. Then after the birth, the animal has to grow from a calf to a cow. Then it need to produce some milk or the meat, and reproduction is another thing, and once again it will give a birth to a calf, and this cycle continues. Hence this type of the cycle is always required and supplemented by the nutrients like water, carbohydrate, minerals, vitamins, fat, and proteins. So this is a circle, and nutrients required for Why nutrients are required? That number one is the health, proper maintenance of the health. Health, then production. The maintenance of the health, for example, the animal, if it is taking the proper proteins, carbohydrates, etc., then the defense mechanism of that animal, especially the neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils, the blood components, and many more things will be in the normal state, and it will produce very nicely. That's the production of the meat, milk, egg, or the wool. All these things will be very nicely, it will be maintained. Whereas the reproduction is another aspect, because if a proper nutrition is not there, the animal will not reproduce very properly. And this is also another requirement of the nutrient material, especially. Then the economic viability of a farm is also dependent on the proper nutrients, and also they should be available in very cheap cost and less labor oriented. So these are all the things which are very much required for the economic viability of a farm. Then apart from this one, the environment. Safe environment means if the nutrients are very properly, the environment will be safe, so that the animal will have the self-defense mechanism, and it will produce the very good and nutritious products, and its health will be also very good. Whereas the safe and quality of the products is also another criteria. The quality, for example, the meat quality, if the nutrition is very proper, then the meat quality will be very high. At the same time, the milk quality, suppose if the nutrients are not properly given to a cow, low SNF and low fat syndrome and Downer's cow syndrome and many more diseases will be there. So hence the nutrients are required for all these above criteria, which is one of the important thing what we need to discuss in the next chapters are concerned. So why we need to study nutrition? Why can't we simply jump on to the pharmacology or the diseases or the control and prevention measures? Yes, this is a question, big question everywhere. So this is answered by bring out the genetic potentiality. Suppose a cow or cattle or a buffalo, even though it's genetically potential, if proper nutrition is not given, it will not yield the proper milk or a meat, etc. So that's why the studying the nutrition, especially in the animal, is very much required. The second thing is efficacy of animal production. Means a cow is supposed to produce about 20 liters of milk per day. It's genetic potential, but if nutrition is not properly given to it, and it starts very very low, that means it may start from giving 10 liters or 10 liters or 20 liters. So to yield the proper animal production, especially the milk, meat, etc., it has to be properly nutrited, or nutrition is important. And the third is to minimize competition between human and animal for food. And why we need to study the nutrition is there is always competition between some animals and also for the human beings, but the livestock are the one which do not compete for the human food. Whereas the few of the predator animals do compete for the human food, and hence we need to segregate all these things. The food of the animal should be given to the animal, and the human food should be separate. So that there should not be any competition for a common feed source for human and also the animal. It should be very, very minimum, or else there is a chance of the crisis of food deficiency in these such animals. Hence, we need to study the nutrition which are required for the human beings. Because, for example, if you simply take the example of the cow or the cattle, it can digest the cellulose, which can't be done by the human beings. Hence, both are not competent or competing for a common source, because the grass cannot be digested by human beings, whereas the they can be easily digested by the ruminant animals. So the fourth one is economic farming. Cost of feeding is about highest extent is 70%, especially in animal husbandry. Main cost or the main expenditure will be on the feeding. That's why we have to give lot of importance to the nutrition of the particular animal. Hence, the economic farming, even though it may be very high, look very high, but it is inevitable or unavoidable. Hence, we should feed the animal very properly to the extent of 70%, but total cost of 100%, if we say, the 70% is going to the nutrition. Whereas the animal welfare is also another this concern of the animal, because whenever we rear an animal, it's our responsibility to provide it the quality animal life with proper nutritious and delicacious material to that animal. And the another thing is the least effect on the environment. This sentence is very important because nowadays everybody is telling that the global warming is caused by the ruminant, especially the methane gas and carbon dioxide gas. To some extent, it's true also because about 17% of the methane is contributed by the animal husbandry sector to the environment, and because of this thing, there is a global warming threat is also there. Hence, we should minimize such type of the effect on the environment. For example, the manure and also the urine, etc., are also contributing to the environmental pollution. And at the same time, the methane gas, which is produced enormously from the ruminants. So, the seventh one is the safeguard the public food is also another thing, because 75% or more people in this earth or the universe are the non-vegetarians. Hence, we need to provide them the very good, hygienic, free of bacteria or contamination, and the public food should be provided, especially from animal origin. Of course, we are providing it from the agriculture origin, but we need to be careful while providing the food from animal origin, because there is always chance that there are certain zoonotic diseases, means the diseases which are transmitted from animal to the human being. So ultimately, the human is one of the most selfish person who utilizes almost all the animals for his benefit. Hence, uh, before exploiting all these animals, at least we should see that they are properly nutrited and promote global security, especially the food security of the globe. Because nowadays the human population is tremendously increasing, and it's about 150 crores and about 800 crores in the universe. Hence, all these people do require the food apart from the animals also. So we need to provide the public with good food, and food global food security should be maintained with adequate nutrition. Then it also influences the human nutrition, because most of the human food basket, about 25% is from dairy products, about 10% is from the fisheries and other products. So that's the, if you produce very good milk, meat, etc., then the human nutrition will also be maintained. Hence, we need to study the nutrition. Then the poverty elevation or the death due to the hunger. If you produce more and more animal originated feed, then they will serve as the money vending machines to the human being. Hence, many people can be brought above the poverty line. Hence, the poverty elevation can also be done. Whereas the food price can also be maintained by adding the food basket with animal food origin with lower cost also. So a person who goes to the market will also purchase the vegetable, the cereals, the millet, the fat, the oil, and apart from this one, he also purchases the milk, the ice cream, then the cheese, butter, etc., which are all derived from the animal. And apart from this one, he will also purchase the mutton, then chicken, pork, etc. So all these are very much important in the human food practice, whereas by studying the nutritive value of different food, we will know this thing. And global economy is also depending upon the export of the food commodities, export of the milk, of course, export of the wool, and export of the especially the meat. Buffalo meat is exported to the highest extent, especially from Indian origin is concerned. And apart from this one, the other minor animal products like the manure, which is produced by most of the animals, maybe the poultry, the cattle, they produce the dung or the pellets. So these are directly contributing to the Indian economy in terms of the organic farming. So we cannot imagine any agriculture without the animal husbandry. Hence, this is also contributing to the global economy is concerned. Then precision animal nutrition means the animal nutrition is need to be precious, especially. Hence, hence we need to have the proper nutrient requirement to the animals. Then that's called as precious animal nutrition means we need to feed the animal with optimum, not high, not low. Because as we go for the higher nutrition value, then the feed cost will increase to the great and the margin of the profit reduces to the greater extent. Hence, we need to concentrate on the meat nutrient requirement. Then profitability means whenever we are preparing a food, we should give optimum importance so that the cost of the feeding of the animal should be minimal. At the same time, the nutritional value cannot be compromised because the animal will suffer from several diseases or deficiencies or sometimes the syndromes. So the another thing is why the animal nutrition should be precious is better quality animal product will be output. So a cow or a goat, etc., if they are fed very properly, we can get the quality meat or a clean milk production with good SNF, then fat, and also the other products, especially the value-added products like the butter, the ghee, and many more animal-oriented products like the peda, then many type of the sweets like ice cream, etc. So the fourth one is the clean environment. So if you optimally feed the animal, we will have the clean environment without wasting any of the food grains and also the fodder, etc. We can keep the environmental very clean. That's also the precision animal nutrition plays the role. Then, apart from this one, the animals depend upon the plants for their existence. Most of the animals, except the carnivores like the tiger, etc. But most of the herbivores do depend upon the plants for their growth, and the herbivorous animals are the food for the carnivorous animals. Hence, this checks and measures of population of both animals are controlled. Then study of animal nutrition begin with the plant itself. So most of the animal feed is consisting of plant origin itself, whereas only few of the carnivores they may survive from the meat of the herbivorous animal. So always the plant can never be excluded out of the animal feed. And plant and animal contain similar chemical substances and we can group them according to the constitution, properties and function. For example, a plant do contain more and more carbohydrates and also the protein and also the fat. And accordingly, the animal also do contain similar chemical and composition. Like suppose an animal is slaughtered, then you can also get lot of lard or the fat, then the muscles in the form of the proteins and also milk, etc. So in this aspect also, it is important that the animals do contain similar type of the substances. So main components of the food here, number one, water. The number two is the dry matter. So the food of a normal animal, which is especially which is present in the jungle or in the forest, it only to contains two things. One is the water, and second one is the dry matter or the fodder. Whereas the dry matter is once again divided into organic and inorganic dry matter. So the organic means from the plant source, whereas the inorganic means non-plant source. So the organic source of this food is the carbohydrates number one, then lipids or the fat, then proteins, and apart from this one, the nucleic acids of the plants and organic acids, then vitamins are the important or main components of the food of the origin dry matter in that organic dry matter. Then the inorganic, almost the thing is the minerals, maybe the calcium, sodium, potassium, magnesium, ferrum, and many more minerals are very much required in the micro and micronutrients to the animal in the form of the food. Because many times we can see the deficiency of certain micro and macro nutrients apart from the deficiency of the carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, etc. So the main component of the food sources are food, water and dry matter and organic and inorganic. So this is the main thing. Whereas the organic is the nitrogenous substances which are basic component of all the food is the protein is nitrogenous. So the total protein and non-protein nitrogens are the component of the nitrogenous material, and non-nitrogenous substances are the carbohydrate and fat. So one need to find the especially the carbohydrate percent and protein and fat in every nutritious material, because all these three things need to be balanced very well for the cost effectiveness of the animal husbandry, especially the percent of the carbon or the carbohydrates and also the percent of the proteins which are present in the food, especially the non-nitrogenous food, especially and also the fat percent. Fat is very much required for the body for production of various hormones, the enzymes, these lipid membranes, cell membrane, and many more programs are there, especially the fat. Then coming to the history a little bit, the nutrition, Lazaro Spallanzani in the year 1729 to 1799. So this is a brief history. He swallowed linen bag containing meat to see the chemical change. So usually the human being cannot consume the feed of the animal. Maybe the cellulose content cannot be digested. But Lazaro Spallanzani, he swallowed the linen bag containing the meat to see the chemical changes. What happens? Then the Antony Lavoisier in the year 1743 to 1794 was the founder of science of nutrition and called as father of nutrition. Name this person Antony Lavoisier. Antony Lavoisier in the year 1743. He is the founder of science of the nutrition. Especially, he studied very well in detail of the different. Especially he established the chemical basis of nutrition and stated that life is a chemical process. Entire body is also full of chemicals, and life is a chemical process. What we told. So he introduced the balance and thermometer into nutrition studies, and he designed he designed he designed the calorimeter, warm calorimeter, etc. You might have heard, along with the lab place. So at the beginning, it was believed that nutritive value of a food resided in a single element, but as the time passed, see, it is very recent era how the nutrition, etc., need to be scientifically given to the and the Anthony Lavoisier. So he made all this contribution. But William Prout reported that nutrient constituent of the animal body were provided by three principles. Number one, saccharin or the sugar or the carbohydrate. Then oily means it is lipids. At present we are calling it as the lipid. Then the albuminous or the proteinous material. So the three are compounded by William Prout especially. So so we can remember three persons: Lazzaro Spallanzani, Anthony Lavoisier, who is the father of the nutrition, and William Prout. So this is the photo of Anthony Lavoisier, who is the father of nutrition. Please remember this particular photo, who is also the father of animal nutrition. Then the G.J. Mulder gave the name protein means take first place. Always the proteins they are named by the Mulder, G.J. Mulder or Mulder, whatever it may be. Then the Francois Magandai is the founder of animal feeding experiment. So I think this person has contributed to great to the science, including the medicinal products, etc. So this Francois Magandai has put his hand in several aspects. So he is also known as the animal feeding experiment he conducted. So what he did is he fed pure diet based on that. He stated that N present in the body or the nitrogen present in the body has its origin from the food. So he is the person, especially the Francois Magandai. Then Stephen M. Babcock in the year 1843 to 1931, he conducted first feeding experiment with the single plants. So there may be like a grain or a forage, etc. And all the grain and forage were from either corn or the wheat plants. He conducted some studies. So this stimulated the use of the purified diet method, which resulted in discovery of the vitamins. So the Babcock, Stephen M. Babcock, is the person who invented this particular vitamins, etc. Then Henneberg and Stockman in the 1865, then they analyzed the proximate analysis of the feedstuffs at Wendy Research Station. So that is what is the proximate paralysis analysis is the water or the moisture content. And apart from this one, the crude protein means impure protein, not in the pure form like the amino acids, etc. Whereas the which is soluble in the ether, that's also called as ether soluble extract, then crude fiber or total ash and nitrogen free extract. As in the modern era, all these things are conducted, especially in the name of the proximate analysis or proximate principles. So he did this particular research, and he named the crude fiber total ash. Ash means indigestible substance with any of the chemical digestion technique, and nutrition free extract also. So he is the person, Stephen J. Babcock, and he is the one who stated the fact that the proximate principles have been named by Stephen M. Babcock. Then the Natah Zund in the year 1847, Natah Zund in the year 1847 to 1920 developed the portable respiration apparatus, put forward for the hypothesis to explain mechanism of the forage utilization by the ruminants. Till that, the symbiotic life of the microorganisms and also the ruminants was not understood very properly. Hence, Henry Prentice Bay in the year 1851 to 1921, he constructed respiration calorimeter for farm animals and studied heat production in the cattle, especially in the cattle uh, rumen. Lot of heat is produced, and he measured this using a calorimeter. And Max Rubner in the year 1886 to 1932, they worked on energy metabolism and showed that carbohydrate and fat are interchangeable. Means, if an animal consumes the carbohydrate, it can produce the especially the protein, whereas the carbohydrate and fat. So, suppose the carbohydrate is consumed more, it will be converted into the fat, and vice versa. Fat can also be converted into carbohydrate whenever there is a scarcity season. So he conducted such type of the experiments using the respiration calorimeter. This is the a very crude form of the respiration calorimeter he conducted. Then the here one experiment is conducted, especially on the bird. A mask is fitted with supply of fresh air here, then to collect the air exhaled by the goose, especially this thing. So a fresh air, inhaled air was coming from the container, then then the exhaled air was analyzed using a oxygen analyzing meter. Especially the amount of the oxygen in inhaled air is measured, especially exhaled or inhaled. So always it was less oxygen, especially then so using this. So this is like a treadmill, means this part was moving and the duck was walking, and at that time it used to suck the air from this air container, then it used to exhale, then oxygen analysis was measured by the angled treadmill. Hence the animal is put under air conditioner, then the flow meter with different blowers. For example, the air inlet is there, then a cool air is circulated throughout the animal's body, then the outflow of this is also measured, especially in the form of the blower. Then in the air outlet contain the oxygen analyzer, then carbon dioxide is also produced, then the CH4 or the methane analyzer was attached to the animal's mouth. Then the air inlet so was controlled by the knob, etc. Then this was a chamber in which there was a air conditioning, means either cool or whatever may be the required temperature could have been estimated or administered to the animal, and the outcoming oxygen, then carbon dioxide, then methane, all these were analyzed. So the carbon dioxide was measured by infrared method, and also the methane. Then the science advanced; it is not static. Then in the mid 19th century, Gosset observed that the pigeons on low calcium diet had poor bone development. So calcium was also known as the nutrient material, and the Cosset he observed the pigeons. They have got the poor bone development with low calcium. Then the importance of other minerals like the chlorine, the magnesium, then the sodium, then potassium, and also the sulfur were known during the period of the Cosset. Then in the late 19th century, Takaki, he observed that the beriberi disease is one of the important disease can be prevented by dietary supplementation, especially with different important constitutions and the mineral supplements. And all the vitamins were discovered during the period of the 1910 to 1950. So it's a very recent science about 2000. Now it is 2024. You please deduct this 1950 out of 2024. Then that type of the number of years are contributed to the development of the animal nutrition. Then the another scientist R.E. Nge discovered rumen bacteria. So earlier it was not at all known that the microbial population of the rumen are going to contribute to the digestion of the animal. Then the Grubby and Delaforne, they discovered rumen protozoa. Rumen, whatever the protozoa which are present in the rumen, etc. Whereas T. job, he discovered fungi in the rumen. So this is not a easy job. In the year the 1966, very recently, about 59 or 60 years back, he discovered the fungi are also present in the rumen. Now we know all these things. Then 20th century various vitamins, minerals, then the amino acids, fatty acids, and their role, especially in the animal production and reproduction, was now. So various non-conventional feeds means these feeds are the one which are not regularly offered to the cattle. In certain seasons they are available. Then at that time only they need to be administered to the animal. Then they can digest it. So various economical and the balanced rations were prepared for the different categories of the livestock and also to the other animals which are domesticated by the human beings. Then relationship with the other branch of the science. Always all sciences are interrelated. So this animal nutrition is having the relationship of the physics, then chemistry, then biochemistry. Whereas the human nutritionists may tell about all these things, whereas the veterinary scientists do require different other things. And animal nutrition has a direct relationship between the chemistry, biology, physiology, genetics, and breeding. Then anatomy. Without anatomy, the animal's body can't be imagined even if. So the histology, so then the mathematics and microbiology, without which complete study of animal nutrition is impossible. Means these are very important components of the either human nutrition or any animal nutrition. So the relative study of other sciences are also necessary and they are also helpful to the animal nutritionists. So during the scarcity seasons, one need to be very careful that whatever available need to be distributed among all and need to be consumed to deprive of the energy which is originated from the animal source. Then milestones in the development of animal nutrition, as you know very well that the Lavoisier in 1762 he found that the balance, nature, respiration, calorimeters, meter, etc. Whereas William Prout is one person. He was the nutrient. He analyzed the content of the nutritions or the proximate principles, what you can say. Then JVF Magandai or the Francois Magandai, essentiality of the name protein. Then WO Atwater, he is the first human respiration calorimeter he found. Then Oscar Kellner, he found the starch equivalent system of the energy evaluation, how to express the energy content of the feed, etc. So nowadays we are saying them as the megazoules or calories, etc. So HP Arnsby, he found the respiration calorimeter, whereas the Max Klebier, he found the use of weight 2.75 power instead of surface area or energy metabolism. So this person, the Max Klebier, he got the interest that the body weight and also the nutritional property is directly proportional. Then the A.J. Underwood in the year 1905 to 1980 he lived, and he studied very well about the mineral nutrition, especially in the cattle, which are the essential, non-essential, heavy metals, and many more things. So Max Rubner, energy metabolism, Van Sauset, fiber estimation, Hanberg and Stoneman, proximate analysis of the feed stuff. So this is also the landmark discovery, whereas the K.C. Sen in 1954 he found the nutritive value of Indian cattle feeds and the feeding practices, how we feed the animal. Suddenly, if you put animal, then it's helped me get upset. Then Haggett or S.K. Talapatra, he found methods to estimate minerals in feeds and fodders. Whereas the Haggett rumen microbiology has been studied by this person. Whereas the Kashmir funk in 1912, it gave the term vitamin, means they are very, very essential to the body of the animals. So these are all some questions. A French scientist Dash is known as the father of the nutrition. You know it very well. Write the proximate analysis of the feedstuffs, and this was given by Dash. So note down the questions and you will find the answer. The term protein was derived from what is the basic substance? That's dash. Then William Prout is explained the especially the protein, etc. Whereas the biological experiments performed in test tube is called as dash. Energy metabolism was first explained by dash, whereas detergent system of the fiber fractionation means the fiber content need to be extracted out to measure the value of the food. Then starch equivalent system of the energy evaluation has been reported. So these are all some simple and small questions you need to understand in the every chapter's end. Then that's about today's class. We'll take a break and thank you for the patient hearing.